you can't.
Yes, I can.
No, you can't.
Yes, I can.
No, you can't.
Yes, I can. Yes, I can.
Anything you can be, I can be greater. Sooner or later, I'm greater than you.
No, you're not.
Yes, I am.
No, you're not.
Yes, I am.
No, you're not.
Yes, I am. Yes, I am.
How does it feel to have lived long enough to see all of your favorite franchises go down in flames?
Feels great.
I was right. 5 years of woke gaming incoming. If the Game Awards and PlayStation Play and other showcases for video games told us anything, that these events are not there to appease gamers. It is there to showcase to the investors, DEI corporate overlords, and United Nations that they're in alliance with them, while begging not to take their grants, loans, and investments away. Not only is it just like watching the Hunger Games, where they parade the very people who have caused the mass layoffs and stroke their egos before the slaughter happens, but it won't be them who are getting gutted like a fish. Of course not. It will be one portion of did not earn it hires to 3 portions of veteran developers who are already qualified. But fortunately, there are more lambs to be brought to the slaughter in the upcoming year of 2025. Now, before I divulge the bad news, for the only games that piqued my interest is Okami 2 and a new Virtua Fighter in the works. I love Amy as a character and I love the game Okami as a whole. And finally, a new Virtua Fighter game is my dream come true after 19 years of waiting. So yeah, for me it's all indie studios, Asian and Chinese gaming for 2025 onwards, baby. So without further ado, hi, I'm Wilksy and let's dive into this stupidity. And if you want to support me further, subscribe and take a look at my socials in the description below, and let's make a kingdom. Assemble the army! So the whole 5-year plan is now in full swing. If you think these companies are going to change, I keep saying this time and time again. Perish the thought and move on to indie studios or games made by the East or games made by the Asian market. Because once they get on the one-way tricky on the DEI/Bridge 2.0 train heading off a cliff, there is no option to turn it around because they have signed the contracts, the NDAs and the charters with consultancy firms and investors. So if they go off script, they'll be told to get back in their lane, or else they have to pay up in legal fees, which of course they don't have the money for. Hey, they don't call it the death spiral for a reason. The AAA Western future for 2025 onwards will be all whaman. No, I'm not talking about Bayonetta, Eve, Kazumi or the Lara Croft kind. I'm talking about women who are now literally taking on the roles of men. And what's worse is the law and the rules of those famous video game worlds have now been ripped apart. Saying broken would be an understatement. The very video game companies taking their famous IPs that have took decades to make and preserve have now burnt it charcoal black, forced it into a blender, iced it all over with rainbow slop DEI messaging, and say, voila, your new modern gaming is ready to consume. Some people like myself who have seen how it's been made and immediately will reject it and throw it in the bin. But if I was personally to be insulted by the game devs themselves, I will literally throw it back in their face to take them down a peg or two.
Eating this. I'm not eating shite.
Others will eat it and immediately would spit it right out and demand their money back. But unfortunately, you have grifters that will force it down their own throats and pretend that it not only that is edible, but to guilt trip us and call us every buzzword under the sun.
Okay, this is great. Granted, it takes some time to chew, but that was very satisfying. And by the way, lots of fiber in there too. Lots.
To make you consume it in the first place and to keep your goddamn mouth closed. I mean, let's take a look at some examples that have been shown in the Game Awards. starting with Witcher 4. Ciri is no longer beautiful and now looks like Geralt himself, but womanized. Also, the whole trailer itself is just cringe beyond belief. It just reeks of that girl boss stench. Plus, having a monster talk while having Ciri in its grasp really breaks the immersion of a dark and unforgiving world, that a monster would kill anybody in seconds if he had the chance. Talking about immersion breaking, the biggest thing that literally insulted the fan base, that apparently women can now become Witchers. Well, because according to the law, it clearly states, and it has been done many times, women cannot become Witchers because the mutations and trolls themselves are too overbearing and too much to handle on the female body. But if you try to express that to CD Projekt Red, you're wasting your time, as they have literally locked down their Steam forums. Plus, when the voice actor for Geralt told the world that Geralt would not be in The Witcher 4, he got slapped into silence, just showing they don't really have confidence in this decision. But they have to, as their DEI handler told them so. So they knew this was going to piss off the fan base, but they did it anyway. Now CD Projekt Red will be spending their time panicking, trying to come up with a ludicrous backyard story or filler on how females can become Witchers, showing they are fully on board with insulting their fan base and wanting to go into bankruptcy. The trailer is CD Projekt Red literally telling all fans, you are no longer important, you are no longer our main source of income or who we want to appease to. We will now cater to the modern audience over the rainbow. We don't have a choice because our DEI handlers told us to. Next we have Intergalactic, the Heretic Prophet. Yeah, what a way to buzz cut your hair to hate the patriarchy and gamers themselves. And showing us women can do what men can do. Another cringe intro if I saw one. This game was made by Naughty Dog and Neil Cuckman. Just hearing the name of the person who worked on this just makes me want to throw this in the dustbin. But according to the story, it's set thousands of years in the future, in an alternate universe in which advanced space travel existed by 1986. The story is centered on a fictional religion and follows bounty hunter Jordan A. Munn, Tati Gabriele. Just looking at her again, she has the husk of an activist busybody that can take on the world, only to be taken down by reality. But when we dig up her history, yep, she's fully on board with the DEI and she embraces her non-binary.
And then as far as with non-binary and transgender, I hope that we just start seeing that the future is here whether we like it or not. We need to not just accept it, but embrace it. Embracing something and seeing not only the beauty of it in it, but the way that it contributes to the world and contributes into the way that anybody of any gender, race, creed, color can form their identity and can walk through the world with pride and their chin up high, like I think is so important for the generation coming behind us.
The future is here whether we like it or not. We need to not just accept it, but embrace it.
So it was a no-brainer Naughty Dog will hire her, as she will be loyal and say the right things and won't go off script. But moving on, in searching for a criminal syndicate called the Five Aces, Jordan becomes stranded on the remote planet Semperia. For over 600 years, the planet has been cut off from outside contact and no one has been able to leave its orbit. In seeking to escape, Jordan fights hostile blade-wielding robots. The first trailer depicts Jordan listening to 1980s music on a Sony CD player, watching anime, flying a Porsche branded rocket ship, and wearing Adidas sneakers. Plus we have two celebrity faces as well. If you have so many advertisements in a video game, you know Naughty Dog and Sony Interactive are in financial quicksand for failing so hard in the financial market. The lesbian buzzcut hair butch cosmetic, it is actually a fetish within itself. But again, Sony and Naughty Dog just caused immersion breaking that has just killed the game before it's even been released. Because first up, what's Pet Shop Boys, Adidas sneakers, a spaceship that's a Porsche, mainstream celebrity faces, and a Sony CD player got to do with a futuristic scenario? If the technology is that advanced, even for 1986, again, why is she wearing those kinds of clothes? Why is she having those devices? Is this a video game or some kind of advertisement I'm not aware of? Which one is it? But what's ironic is that the song that is chosen, It's a Sin, which is practically the second version of the LGBTQ national anthem, just told me that this whole thing was done on purpose. And to show the DI overlords there will be a forced gay romance in this game. Not happened to be a forced one. Just hear what Matthew Gallant, another Naughty Dog developer, say in the PlayStation accessibility.
Are shared social spaces, they're shared culture. It's important that we welcome everyone into those experiences the same way that we welcome people with disabilities into all our other public spaces. Games are another kind of public forum, another kind of place where people hang out and have fun and share experiences, share culture, share stories, and it's important that we welcome everyone into that.
Oh really, Matt? If that's the case, why did Naughty Dog disable the comments section? Yep, you don't have faith in this game either. Not only that you have just lied, but all that you just said is sentiment and words. And this has got Concord vibes written all over it. I mean, they might as well just call it Stellar Bold at this point. There is Borderlands 4, but again, if anyone has played Borderlands 3 or was a Borderlands fan, I don't have to explain myself after the absolute disaster Borderlands 3 was, and the absolute disaster of the film that literally was grannies cosplaying as 20 to 30 year olds and literally finding actors at the last minute to do it. But looking at Borderlands 4 with the Vault Hunters, it's no better. Gearbox are fully on board with the ESG and DEI crowd. Just looking at the developers' Twitter profiles and mannerisms, you just know that they are. Just adding so-called diverse characters is going to win people like me over and other gamers, only to find out that we won't even touch it. Seriously, I don't know how Gearbox decided to make another Borderlands, after how bad the writing and how abysmal the story arcs were. That was an insult to the very fans.
Has anyone played Borderlands 3? Has anyone beaten it?
I did.
Endgame?
No one's at Endgame.
Nobody likes a bigot unless he's crying boo-hoo.
One of the privileges of working in the Borderlands franchise is that everyone sort of agrees what the tone should be and what is funny and what type of storytelling we should be doing.
One of the privileges of working in the Borderlands franchise is that everyone sort of agrees what the tone should be and what is funny and what type of storytelling we should be doing.
Thanks to Sam Brinkler, the guy with bad takes, bad writing and bad decision making, only proves that DEI writing consultancy firms are a scam, and he himself is a fraud and their lapdog. But the immersion breaking doesn't end there. Let's have one more final example. Split Fiction, made by Hazelight Studios. Personally for me, it's a pass because it doesn't give me a reason to play this game. Hazelight are known for their success co-op games like A Way Out, selling 9 million copies, and It Takes Two, that sold 20 million. Now, this looks like an innocent game until of course you notice who the publisher is, and of course it's EA. So immediately you know how it all went down in the production line. Since of course EA is going to implement their 2025 to 2030 roadmap of DEI and everything Wetman, it was a no-brainer that Hazelight Studios were told that they have to listen to their EA busybody Karens, otherwise they would not publish, let alone fund their game. They give it girl boss themes. I mean, for Christ's sakes, again, the cliche evil white man and quickie quips just show it.
You play as Mio and Zoe, two aspiring writers that hope to get published by a new tech company that can simulate their stories to life.
We sure cause a lot of explosions.
No one escapes my simulation.
If anyone is new to their channel, I said this many times, you can always have great female protagonists in video games, you can always give them great stories as well, but the moment that you make a woman ugly, try to manify them or turn them into girl bosses, gamers will not be happy, as you just now broken the law of the video game world, but you also broke the immersion. And once you broke the immersion, the player will not have a reason to play your game any longer. Or worse, never buy your products ever again.
Yo, look at it! 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 I want all of you to look at it!
And why is that bag on your head?
Why? Oh, no reason. Except you gave me the ugly! Well, what am I gonna do? I can't go out looking like this!
Because all they'll be thinking about is that disgusting taste that you have put in their mouths. And with the social climate of today, they will notice that you did it on purpose as part of the DEI agenda. Because for me, the moment that I saw they have turned Siri into Geralt, that is when you know CD Projekt Red are fully on board with the DEI 2025 to 2030 roadmap, starting with Witcher 4, which I'll get into a bit later. Siri, the radiant elegant elf that is supposed to age like fine wine, the girl with her own magical abilities. Getting her own game or story was not enough, they just flat out turned her into Geralt instead to appease to the DEI message. What a joke. So now that we have the examples, let's go into the rabbit hole to show you the receipts. GVGC partners with UNICEF for the Game Changers Coalition, bridging STEAM skill gaps, strengthening inclusive practices, and more. EA is proud to support the Global Video Game Coalition's groundbreaking partnership with UNICEF and the newly established Game Changers Coalition, which has launched to equip adolescent girls with the skills and leadership to thrive in a tech-driven future. EA is serving as a key industry leader alongside other companies such as Sony Interactive Entertainment, Ubisoft, Roblox, and more. With 90% of our jobs today requiring digital competencies, the Game Changers Coalition responds to the urgency of closing the gender digital skills gap and enabling girls, especially in emerging economies, to pursue careers in high income, fast growing industries like video gaming and tech. In the next 3 years, the Game Changers Coalition aims to reach 3 million girls directly, building on UNICEF's broader goal of equipping 26 million girls worldwide with learning and skill building opportunities to go from playing to learning to earning. As creative community driven entertainment company, EA continues to focus on closing opportunity gaps in science, technology, engineering, art and mathematics, abbreviation STEM, education. By investing in STEM, we are helping to ensure that learners have the capabilities and experiences that enable them to contribute to their communities and reach their full potential. Co-creating a roadmap for success. The Game Changers Coalition launch event marked the beginning of a 2-year plan of joint activities designed to scale impact and technical collaboration across multiple countries. GVGC, represented by its co-chairs, the Entertainment Software Association, ESA, and Video Games Europe, remarked on the significance of this partnership as unique opportunity to demonstrate the video game industry's potential for positive social change. EA is proud to support Global Video Game Coalition and its sponsorship of UNICEF Game Changers Coalition, says EA Kerry Hopkins, Senior Vice President of Global Affairs. This initiative is a powerful opportunity to equip adolescent girls with skills, leadership, and confidence they need to thrive in a tech-driven world. As an industry leader, we are committed to ensuring that the next generation innovators, creators, and leaders are equipped to lead the future of the video games industry. Now, this might sound innocent and helping women into the workplace, but again, what is the motive behind it and why does it need to be women? Oh, I forgot, people who identify as women. Because are these women going to be trained and qualified to give the gamers, let alone the market, what they want? Or are they going to be radicalized by social justice jargon and turned into hyperbolics, causing many problems in companies that they will burrow themselves into? Ultimately, why can't it just be people that have the merit and skill in the first place? Well, where they said positive social change, that is a big red flag.
I've worked in games for the best part of 20 years. PlayStation, Disney, Us2 Games, Square Enix. I loved working there. I loved working on such massive games, but I actually had a sense of guilt. In parallel with my games career, I've always had a passion, or actually I don't like to call it a passion, I like to think of it more as a sort of a purpose for making a difference in the world.
Nice tree. It's comfy.
We're less than 20 years away from climate collapse. And for me, that's incredibly scary, both for our future, but for my children's future. It struck me that there was such an opportunity to use these games that were reaching hundreds of millions of people to create awareness about what's happening in the world. So when you play long...
That's it! This nature stuff, it's for the birds!
Yep. EA is solely on board and socially manipulated women into becoming narcissistic busybody Karens. And when we look at the full game revenue of Zax.com, Electronic Arts have reported an earning and revenue loss for the first quarter of the 2025 fiscal year. EA blames the year-over-year losses on lackluster sales of full games and weakened revenue gains for live service titles. Why am I not surprised with how much GameStop has came out last year and the end of this year, with Immortals of Aveum, Tales of Zao, and Dragon Age The Failguard. Also, gamers don't have as much money to spend on games like FIFA and Madden with microtransactions due to the cost of living crisis. And with this 2-year strategy, which of course really they mean it's going to be 3 to 4 years extended, this is going to cost them dearly. DEI quotas over profit. Nice.
I declare bankruptcy!
But let's take a look at CD Projekt Red. And oh no, they've signed the diversity charter. When a company has signed this, they have chosen death of a company, because now they have to meet insane DEI quotas that they can never reach, and no longer going to hire people based on merit, just like EA. Plus, what's ironic, since Siri is the main face of the page with women's faces silhouetted into the portrait, it's literally shoving their woman message in your face. When you read their code of conduct, it's full of contradictions, starting with political neutrality. CD Projekt Red maintains political neutrality and does not support political parties. Accordingly, we make no payments which might benefit any specific political party. Really? Then why are you supporting the DEI message and signing that diversity charter then? Because you're hiring to meet quotas from sexuality, gender, and race. That is political. Plus, the people who created the diversity charter is the European Commission, aka the European Union. Our online presence, particularly in social media, enables active communication with communities which form around our products. CD Projekt Red Group websites and social media channels are also an important source of information for investors, financial market analysts, and media representatives. We always work to ensure that any information we publish remains accurate and consistent with our communication strategy. Again, another contradiction, because as we all remember with the controversy with Endymion, when they tried to make his report about a whistleblower, where the whistleblower said they were only hiring people who can work on their Unreal Engine, and they hired more consultants to clean up the mess of the launch of Cyberpunk 2077. But also,
drum roll please!
Only hiring women for their mentorship programs to work on Cyberpunk that caused the mess in the first place. I'm not going to go into the controversy because it's a bit long-winded, but basically Endymion not only struck a nerve, but he also backed Michael Nakawowski, joint CEO of CD Projekt Red, into a corner. For him, it was pick your poison, go after gamers, or go against the ESG overlords. And since CD Projekt Red is already in quicksand, there was no other options.
Don't ask questions, just consume product and then get excited for next product.
So it was obvious Michael was going to attack gamers to protect himself and the DEI overlords.
Přičemž měli vlastně podle mě dobrý vlastní engine. No a slyšel jsem takový zvěsti, že teďka jsou z toho dost jako...
Že se neudělal chybu.
No bavil jsem se s jedním člověkem, jehož jméno nemůžu samozřejmě říct a říkám mu, tak co Unreal? On říkal, super, už tam máme udělaný kus jako nějaký krajiny a to říkám, no a v open worldu? No to ještě ne. Oznámili to když, rok, dva zpátky a prostě furt jim to nejde, tak jak jim to jelo
vlastně
na
to. Super, jako... Teďka jak udělali vlastně, vylepšili tu grafiku kvůli těm konzolím a tak dále, to je furt nádherný, jak blázen.
My only issue would be the double tap to...
That's a bit, yeah, that's a lot better.
Why does everybody have a gun out? These all guys have a gun out. This guy too.
Am I supposed to know who you are?
Hello? My gun?
Fucking drive.
My gun? Hello? Where's my gun?
Can't keep her steady.
I can't shoot. Hello? Hello? Help!
Is that Han? What the fuck? That is Han. What the fuck you doing, Han? Get out of the ground! Your car!
No! That shit took 8 years to make!
What the hell? Hello? What the hell? Hello? Ah!
City is trash.
Luigi, number 1.
Game worth it? Eh. Does that answer your question?
Thanks again for making us eat garbage.
It's not garbage.
It's better. Not woker.
It's garbage.
So for our last example, let's look at Sony Interactive Studios. Yeah, it's full of DEI and social justice jargon all over their website. I'm not going to read all of this because we're going to be here for some time, but I want to read this part, and this just shows you what I've been saying for quite some time, that you have busybody Karens literally breathing down your neck. At Women at PlayStation in Europe, there's a defined subgroup focuses on male allyship. Bridget adds, they sit within Women at PlayStation in a forum that allows our male allies from across the organisation to come together and rally behind causes that we're championing for our members. We give them the tools, resources and safe space to have discussions about how to become better allies for women in SIE, which means Sony Entertainment by the way, the women on their teams and the women in their personal lives. This is something we're working to take global. There are so many layers to what Women at PlayStation brings to the table, not just for women but for everyone. For instance, we want to establish a buddy system for parents who are rejoining the workforce. We want to provide them with support, coaching and anything they need. Louise explains further how a buddy pairing system was introduced at the start of the pandemic for new starters by HR, who were the guest. It worked really well, fostering connections which helps to ensure new starters at SIE were supported and could thrive. We would like to leverage this initiative for parents or employees who are returning from shared parental leave or adoption leave. Like again, it might sound all innocent, but basically these people who wanted to put this initiative in wanted to become busybody Karens.
We need male allies. We need men who want to celebrate women, who want to work with and for women. And so
she has the female, complex, multitasking brain. That's why they can't be happy. They just always, they're like, what is that lizard that can look at two things at once? That's what they're like. So they got the shoes they want, and then they see some other woman walking in going, oh, look at this skinny bitch over here. She thinks she's cute, right? And that's what I've learned.
Oh, God.
You know what makes women happy? Nothing. Nothing makes them happy, and that is why they are slowly taking over.
You're saying that because you're happy, that you think your wife and women in general want to take that?
They're jealous of it. They're jealous how simple the male brain is, that you can just sit there and be entertained and find true happiness, and it just bugs them, so they gotta ruin it.
They literally are saying that we want to monitor what you do and make sure that you keep in line with our agenda. So it's got nothing to do with trying to be supportive to new recruits. It's about making sure that you stay in your lane, and especially for males. And you wonder why Sony is in a massive civil war, because Sony Japan have just realised that, yeah, we made a big mistake.
My knees are fucked and my patience is snapped. Some of us had to go through this hippie shit the first time around. Let's do away with you. What? Filters off, Daddy-o, let it all hang out.
Yeah, if you wondered why you're getting all this slap and why you don't get beautiful women in games no more of Sony of America, yep, it was all people like Louise and Bridget that literally forced these agendas onto us. And if there is one guy to blame for all of this that exacerbated the problems that had earned the cancer, well, it's this guy who won the Game Changer Award. Hang on a second, didn't EA say something about the Game Changer Coalition? Nah, must be conspiracy. It's none other than Amir Satvat, the guy that said Gamergate 2.0 was all a conspiracy and that DEI was not the killer of the Western video game industry. But Morality has done an excellent deep dive into this, so I'm not going to steal their thunder, but I'll put the tweet in the description below. But just to condense it down, Amir is a director at Tencent Games and a puppet to make sure that hostile takeover plans are in full swing. How, you might ask? Well, he's the one that's been getting people who have been laid off to find other video game development jobs, which might sound good on paper, but one will have to ask, will it be people who are qualified and have tons of knowledge and experience? Oh hell no, it's all going to be DEI hires and activists that are fully on board with
the message.
Don't you know, those Western companies have got those quotas to meet in their DEI missions and portfolios. So Amir is like the sociopathic doctor that's been hiding behind a sweet and innocent mask. It's like him saying he's giving people antifungal medication that will kill meningitis. But really he's been giving people and companies aflatoxin serums that will aggravate the problem further and eventually cause the demise. So thanks to the DEI pawns Amir has put in, that will cause so much damage and will make the very companies lose millions or even billions of dollars. I'm talking about you, Ubisoft. Tencent can buy those video game companies for pennies. Well, it's still be in the millions, but to them it will be pennies. So it's one cold-blooded hostile takeover event, and it's the oldest Chinese strategy method in the book, made by Sun Tzu. Get your enemies to fight amongst themselves, or use representatives to exacerbate the enemy flaws and problems which break alliances, and once their defenses are down and they have no fight left in them, or their resources have been depleted, kaboom, you won the invasion and you didn't have to lift a finger to go and get it. But what about the DI hires? Oh right, about them. Well, Tencent will just replace them with their very own, and they will never be able to set foot in those companies again.
No, they'll bring their own people in.
Oh, this ain't good.
We can all lose our jobs.
Look at all those worried faces.
So they literally given an award to the guy that has caused one of the biggest layoffs in Western video game market history, just so he doesn't feel bad and guilty about what he has done. And everybody's clapping like obedient seals. Yep, they're all sociopathic as Sweet Baby Inc themselves, and they all deserve each other. So, in conclusion, showing you all the evidence and the receipts from the video game studios who have butchered their games, is it a coincidence that in the Game Awards that the main theme for 2025 to 2030 is everything is now Whaman, and a warning for what's to come for us vigilant gamers? It's now going to be about social engineering, and just like the great Larry Fink once said,
well, behaviors are going to have to change, and this is one thing we're asking companies. You have to force behaviors, and at BlackRock we are forcing behaviors. 54% of the incoming class are women. We added 4 more points in terms of diverse employment this year. And what we're doing internally is, if you don't achieve these levels of impact, your compensation could be impacted, okay?
We're doing the same thing.
And so it's just, you have to force behaviors. And if you don't force behaviors, whether it's gender or race or just any way you want to say the composition of your team, you're going to be impacted. And that's not recruiting, it is development, as Ken said. And ultimately, it's still going to take time, but I am just as much shocked as Ken is that we have not seen more opportunities, and we're going to have to force change.
Why are these companies choosing death and not appeasing to the passionate gamers? Well, because once all the veterans are all gone, let alone fired, you are left with people in hyperbolic states over social justice issues, mixed in with trying to meet impossible company hire quotas and target sales to be made, which unfortunately is nothing but a fart in a frock. No escapism, only immersion breaking and being lectured to. I'm going to finish off here with a speech that Sven Vink, a video game designer at Atlarian Studios, known for Baldur's Gate 3.
I realize you guys have been sitting here for over 3 hours, but I still have some time credits from last year to cash in. So it turns out that not only will I be the one who will know as first which game wins tonight, but I actually also know which game is going to win next year, the year after, and the year after. Now, how do I know this? Well, an oracle told me. She said, change is coming. It's a modern oracle, so they made me sign an NDA, but I trust all of you. I know you can keep a secret. You will never leak it. The oracle told me that the game of the year 2025 was going to be made by a studio who found the formula to make it up here on stage. It's stupidly simple, but somehow it keeps on getting lost. Studio made their game because they wanted to make a game that they wanted to play themselves. They created it because it hadn't been created before. They didn't make it to increase market share. They didn't make it to serve as a brand. They didn't have to meet arbitrary sales targets or fear being laid off if they didn't meet those targets. And furthermore, the people in charge forbade them from cramming the game with anything whose only purpose was to increase revenue and didn't serve the game design. They didn't treat their developers like numbers on a spreadsheet. They didn't treat their players as users to exploit. And they didn't make decisions they knew were short-sighted and function of a bonus or politics. They knew that if you put the game and the team first, the revenue will follow. They were driven by idealism and wanted players to have fun. And they realized that if the developers didn't have fun, nobody was going to have any fun. They understood the value of respect, that if they treated their developers and players well, those same developers and players would forgive them when things didn't go as planned. But above all, they cared about their game because they loved games. It's really that simple, said the Oracle.
This is what us gamers have been screaming from the rooftops for over 10 years. And that speech alone just completely slaughtered the AAA game industry. Who would have thought allowing actual video game developers the creative freedom to make their own games and how to make them will lead to healthy outcomes and gamers having a reason to play their games, than having corporate greedy overlords, SJW busybodies, watching over their shoulders constantly. And now putting them in stressful and hyperbolic states leads to bad decisions in market and development. When I hear those kinds of speeches, it makes me want to play 90s to 2000 games all over again. The lesson to take away from this is, when a deal sounds too sweet and irresistible, you always have to question motives, especially when it comes to financial propositions. It keeps one surviving in a cutthroat world of the financial market, let alone life itself. Otherwise, you could end up being the one getting played or be the sacrificial lamb in the end. When people ask me why video games are in trouble, well, this is it. Instead of working on what they can do better and hiring people right for the job, they instead hire people who are cardboard cutouts just like them in order to evade criticisms and real problems. Then attack gamers and those that tell or show the truth, or anyone who is not on board with the message or their own truths, which is not a winning strategy and only exacerbates the problems. It reminds me of the story of Persona 4 with the Midnight Channel. Yes, it showed a person that everyone in the media wanted to see and wanted to know, but it only showed an exaggerated fabrication of the overwhelming majority of what truth they wanted to see and what they wanted to understand. Hence, their own truth, not what the truth or the answer really is, which manifests all the evils and the killings that have taken place in Inaba. There are many times you can pick the easy path of allowing your defeated, emotional self to create your own conclusions based on lies and fabrications. And if you're not careful, there are many red herrings that could throw the investigation team off the trail of finding who the killer is. But it's your job as a protagonist to keep them on the right path and to ultimately find out who created the Midnight Channel in the first place for their own twisted gain. The game even offers you bonuses when you complete your party members' social links to find out which parts of their shadow selves on the TV were true and which parts were just fabrications made by the collective thoughts of the majority, which will even lead the party member to face and work on their own faults to become a more grounded individual. Hence its theme, searching for the truth. And just like one person in the game once said, everything was for your sake, to create the world mankind so wanted. Yes, they are the ones who created their own echo chambers, hence they are the ones who created their own midnight channels to stroke their own egos, rather than to use their own ears to listen and their own eyes to see the truth and reality. And they can turn those organs on at any time, and I hope they do before it's too late. If I had to sum up 2025 to 2030, it would be: truth is dangerous, beauty is oppressive, standards and merit is restrictive, and all we can do is play retro, indie games, and games made by the East to keep us free from insanity. This is Wilksy 15 signing out.
I